Hello dear viewers, it's time for another art reflection, and this time we're going to go back to the world of video gaming into one of my favorite franchises and favorite worlds of all time. And it's not Elder Scrolls, though I still love it. It's not Fallout, which we will get to. It's not Mirror's Edge, which will be later on down the line. It's not Resident Evil, which is also later on down the line. We are talking about Halo. Now, I've said a lot about Halo, and truth be told, this isn't my first attempt at this video. I actually did this project and video earlier last week, but, well, here are some snippets from that video. I mean, I have all the games I've ever played, starting back with the limited edition collector's edition of Halo 2. I definitely have a few places looking back on this that I would definitely go back and fix. Combat Evolved, Halo 5, I know a lot of people don't enjoy this. They shit all over the story and the campaign, and I can understand it, but I still enjoyed it, and that's neither here nor there. I definitely feel like there are parts of this painting that I could go back and fix. But I feel the colors, the atmosphere, the layout, I feel it's there. I don't know what I was thinking in certain places, why I considered it finished in some parts. The Halo 2 multiplayer map pack, this is just added DLC, and you know what? I got it. If you couldn't tell, it is a big deal in my life, and I love it, I love it, I love it. Really lends itself to becoming one of the most immersive game franchises that I've ever played. And it's a testament to Bungie and 343 that if I were to set up a canvas and an easel right there in the middle of the field of this part of a city, that this is the world that I would see. And 343, and 343. But the problem with that video was, well, nothing I think was particularly wrong with the video, but there were some things that I felt like I needed to add that I had more to explain about. And the piece itself, in the video, I made very clear that there were some parts and places in the painting that definitely needed to be touched up. And I did something that I rarely ever do once I feel like I'm done with a project or any work of mine. I went back and I worked on it. And so it's those changes that we're going to talk about today and a little bit more about Halo.
There are things about Halo even the hierarchs do not understand.
There are those who said this day would never come. What are they to say now?
Halo is a different type of sci-fi beast. When you think of the big names in sci-fi, you think of Star Wars, Star Trek, to some people Warhammer, Mass Effect. But Halo is a different thing entirely. It still has its roots firmly within our understanding, our way of operating our world. Despite the series taking place well over 500 years from now, the series never actually feels like it's that far off in the future, because we look around and we see things like cars, we see things like jets, boats. Things like those still exist. We're still using bullets. We're not using lasers entirely. It's still a very grounded and realistic interpretation of humanity. And that's one of the things that really elevates Halo over something like Star Wars. That and a number of things. The beautiful moments in Star Wars are meant to be beautiful. You look at a lot of the landscapes, you see a lot of the setups and scenes. They're meant to look wonderful. They have so much attention to detail. They have so much life. And George Lucas did a phenomenal job with them. But there's a certain level of glamour. I wouldn't say glamour. I would say beauty. There's something artistic in the amount of detail work going into annihilation, into destruction. There's a song called Beauty of Annihilation, and it's a pretty damn good song. It's the same sort of meaning here. There is a beauty in the destruction. When you look at the courtyard here, it is empty, it's vacant. People have evacuated. This is a part of New Mombassa, or Old Mombassa, that feels like the slums. It feels like a place that not everybody wants to inhabit. It's not the brightest spot to live in, but it's still home for somebody, for people. And that's part of the beauty of this world that I so fondly enjoy, is that it feels more like a real location as opposed to like a set. This city has played such a pivotal role in the Halo series. In fact, it's appeared in 3 separate games. Halo 2, Halo 3, and Halo 3 ODST, which I guess is technically a spin-off of Halo 3, but it's its own story, and it's a different part of the city than what we see in the rest of the games. For those of you who've played the Halo 2 game, you would definitely recognize this location. It's the courtyard that we first enter when we leave our crashed Pelican, and we're hit by several waves of Covenant forces coming from one side of the courtyard, then from another side, and then we get some that come in over the rooftops and from the sky, and then it all culminates with these 2 big giant aliens called Hunters breaking down these gates. Then that's how you progress further into the series, but it's that time that you spend in there, it really leaves an impact on you. First of all, if you're playing on Legendary, good luck to you, because you're going to be shot and killed several times unless you know what the hell you're doing. But it's that appreciation that I've gone through it time and time again that I feel that others would be familiar with. I could pick out a number of locations from Halo, but I feel this one is one that a lot of people would resonate a lot with. That you can like walk up to this piece and you'll immediately, you know where it is because you have that connection to that spot. You've seen it time and time again. Looking back on this, Halo 2 was remastered a few years ago, and the remastering is amazing. It is breathtaking, but that left me with a bit of a dilemma. Do I go with the old graphics, or do I do the remastered version of Halo 2 for this piece? The original game had a lot more muted in tone, like neutral tones in the brickwork and the masonry and in the lighting. It kind of gives you the grayish sense of war. It's like almost smoke is always constantly being bellowed somewhere, and it's just almost clouded and coated almost everything. But the new one was a lot more bright. It was a lot sunnier. It was color. There was a lot of color, but a lot more detail. And I'm not saying that I'm not opposed to doing detail work in a lot of paintings. I'm far from it. But when doing architecture, however, it's a whole nother story because it's a bit of a challenge. For me, I'm always trained to think more organically, to express more organic shapes. Like I'm more familiar with doing portraits of animals than I do with cityscapes. I don't particularly like doing individual trees that are like the ones we have here, these palm trees, because first of all, it can be difficult, it can be confusing, and especially with the older model graphics and resolution of these games, it doesn't always lend itself to high detail work, especially from a distance. So that was definitely a challenge when trying to do a layout of this piece. Like I said in the previous video, I did a bit of tracing, and sue me. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do in order to get what you want done. Now, I'm not advocating like complete tracing, but if you need that extra little help, go for it. I'm just using this as an outline, a blueprint, a schematic, just so I know the layout. So I know where the placement is for everything, and I don't have to worry about, oh, is this off? Is that out of line? Is that you know, trying to get that's my excuse. Looking back on this, the stuff in the background, these buildings that I initially just shaded a certain color, they aren't important. And quite frankly, you can't really even get to them. They're out of reach of the gameplay, whether you break through the boundaries of the story path or whatever. These are inaccessible locations. So should I really pay that much attention to them? My answer, no. I don't think that I need to necessarily put every last detail into a building. They're not that important. They're not important to this location. They're not important to the story. So I think this workaround was probably for the best. So what I wound up doing in this little area here was I wanted to do like smoke, because this is where your Pelican, which is in essence a dropship, crashes. There's smoke billowing all over the place. So I thought maybe I should put that smoke in the background. A lot of this remained unchanged, and I'm glad for it. Halo, to me, is as much a part of the graphics and style and presentation as it has been the story and characters. There's something about the aesthetic and style of Halo 2 and Halo Combat Evolved that really resonates not just with me, but I feel with a lot more audiences than their remastered versions. So I'm glad that I decided to go with the original style, because I remember how big a deal Halo 2 was when it was released. I believe a lot of people remember that day if you're a gamer. And that's why I wanted to capture that original style, those colors, the graphics, but do so in a painting. I can't describe how much I love Halo. I grew up with Halo 2. It was the first Halo game I ever played, and I played it out of order. I played Halo 2 first, then went back to Halo 1, and then, naturally, Halo 3, ODST, Halo Wars, all that came out. And I've stuck by the franchise ever since. Have I had my grievances? Yeah. Have I enjoyed everything that they've made? Not everything. But you know what? I enjoy it for what it is. Do they really compromise the stories or the narrative or the legacy that Bungie had started? I don't think they have. I think it fits together. I think 343 has done a good enough job in adding to this universe rather than rewriting it. But I'm just looking back at a world, a moment that meant so much to my childhood, that I can say I remember going over to my buddy's house and us playing this game, or him bringing it over to our house. And I remember when I first got Halo 2 on the Xbox. It was a big deal because my mom was like, "Now, I'm giving you this game. You don't tell anybody I got it for you." Because back then it's like, M-rated game. And it was a big deal for me. And it's now come full circle that I'm able to do an art piece set in that universe to pay homage and tribute and respect to this world that has been there in ways that Star Wars never was. You know how I said last video that when I will be doing paintings like these, the idea is for somebody to say, "Oh, I recognize that place. I know that's where that's from." That's the same sort of thing here, is that shared connection. And it all sort of started with Halo. I wanted to capture that nostalgia, to capture the glory of that childhood, teenage nostalgia. But definitely I have plenty of projects to show you, dear viewers, in the future. We're definitely going to be revisiting this Halo universe because I love it. I friggin' love Halo. And I hope you do too. But what do you think, dear viewers? Did you enjoy this piece? Did you enjoy my analysis? Please let me know. Like, share, subscribe. And I hope to see you next time, where we will continue the fight.